وكفى السلام عليكم همين في الجولة دي هكذا هذا برنامج كمرو عالم كورك جرام ولبا كومدها ودنك كينيا يولبا لك هلاي لما قفض وهاي عذورك ما وإمبوكس أما عذورك لنقول ما بوكس لو عذور فافو فيروس كان أكسجين لقبضة برنامج كسين كاينا قضبة كلنا سين هاي ولبا كومدها وسير كمالية ده وقت الحلقة هاي دالكي إلتريا برهان أربيره يولبا وسيا جيجو كلها ماضي حبسوس كيرناي سيدي كورنتي ورتيلد جده برنامج كسين كاينا قضبة كلنا سين هاي ولبا كومدها القسام يولبا يوم جيجا حالد مجدلين إسرائيل برنامج كسين كود بيانا قضبة كلنا سين هاي ولبا كومدها كوحدة حوتيين تا يمن يولبا يوم مقال كبند وهبند جن موجاي مركب شدال كقاضو مركزية جريج سونيون أو كجوبداي بدع بيت مركي لما مالن كورك جرحيين جنتلد يديار ذهب وكان له برنامج كاسين كود بيانا قضبة كلنا سين هاي ولبا كومدها عيدا كإسرائيل كودها غزة كسون يولبا يوكعدا ديها أنا مامل كنتنيا ونسحب جروجين قاض برنامج كاسين كود بيانا بطل ولبا اللي ولا أنا كأرسل يوكرين لباتوين تيو جيس لنا عواقب كذا لو كرتو ولا دمر بوتين جوندي درها برنامج كاسين كاينا قضبة داس يورك لو كجران كمال حارس يا برنامج كاسين كود بيانا من فايل برنامج كمرو عالم كلا درر تناول هايكا ودنك روشكا فلا دمير بوتين يولبا وسو go'aamiyay in nooca jawaabta ruushka ka biyo duulanka Ukraine ee markaasiti iyo ka galay dhulka ruushka ee adag waliba saasay sheegay safiirka ruushka fadhi Mareykanka Anatoly Antov oo la hadlay wakaalada wararka Reuters ee taas waliba eedan ka ganacsanaa in qof walba suxun lan iqaabo doona wali ka dhig gobolka Kursk iyari Antonov oo bin wal sharaxaad هذا الدجال كروشكا يوكرين يلا نرجع نسجل مرحلة كلا أو خطر بدن كأنت روشكا ولنا والبيا كورن كهن وانكور مرة كورن مركلا أرجعنا على الجواب توصفه روشكا نسبي رغبتي هذا كده بين يوكرين حالتهم جدي بوتين أو أرجع صدام مركزيتي إن ده على هاي كرسوني ده لقبة جودها روشكا سوسانجا وإنه إسلا راشيان كوستوسا ولا وسكيع جابو كورا لانكوس كحد جدي برنامج كي يلا دررتن حوتين تا يمن ولبا iyo waqti dhow bandhigan muuqaal muujiyo in usugubidi markaasiti waa qaado shidaalka ee Greega ee Langordo MV Sonion oo ku gubidahay badacas kureed markii lama maalin ka hor iyo qarxiyeen gantaalada iyo diyaaradaha duuliyahan lahayn barnaamijka la darartan la qasamna waliba iyo xaalad mugdi ee galiiday Israa'iil doogashooyin iyo weerara jooga ayaan meelo ka qaadi barnaamijka muro siyaasadda Warteelka Arlaadi waa muraha caalamka Warteelka Arlaadi la darartan Kenya iyo waliba iyo xaqi jiray lama kiis oo la xiriira fayraska hadda sida dhaqsaha badan ka faafaya inbox oo Langordo faaruqa daanyarka kuleed markii la helay lama qof oo markaasiti Uganda ku qoyan oo dawladda waa darawalada gaadiidka xamuulka ee inshal safraan dalalkii ay barnaamijka muro siyaasadda waa muraha caalamka la darartana Kamaal Harrisna oo la sheegay DNC iyo waliba ka bandhigtay hada Trump madaxweynagada way litaa waa fashilmo doon walbadana laakiin suurtagalnimada iyo aan hayna eerti saasaatowna Harris iyo waliba wacad ka martay in Trump kursiga ka adkaado doonta
opportunity to move past the bitterness, cynicism and divisive battles of the past, a chance to chart a new way forward. Not as members of any one party or faction, but as Americans. And let me say, I know there are people of various political views watching tonight, and I want you to know, I promise to be a president for all Americans. You can always trust me to put country above party and self, to hold sacred America's fundamental principles, from the rule of law to free and fair elections to the peaceful transfer of power. I will be a president who unites us around our highest aspirations, a president who leads and listens, who is realistic, practical, and has common sense, and always fights for the American people. From the courthouse to the White House, that has been my life's work. As a young courtroom prosecutor in Oakland, California, I stood up for women and children against predators who abuse them. As Attorney General of California, I took on the big banks, delivered $20 billion for middle-class families who faced foreclosure, and helped pass a homeowner Bill of Rights, one of the first of its kind in the nation. I stood up for veterans and students being scammed by big for-profit colleges, for workers who are being cheated out of their wages, the wages they were due, for seniors facing elder abuse. I fought against the cartels who traffic in guns and drugs and human beings, who threaten the security of our border and the safety of our communities. And I will tell you, these fights were not easy, and neither were the elections that put me in those offices. We were underestimated at practically every turn, but we never gave up, because the future is always worth fighting for. For America's future. Fellow Americans, this election is not only the most important of our lives, it is one of the most important in the life of our nation. In many ways, Donald Trump is an unserious man. But the consequences of putting Donald Trump back in the White House are extremely serious. Consider not only the chaos and calamity when he was in office, but also the gravity of what has happened since he lost the last election. Donald Trump tried to throw away your votes. When he failed, he sent an armed mob to the United States Capitol, where they assaulted law enforcement officers. When politicians in his own party begged him to call off the mob and send help, he did the opposite. He fanned the flames. And now, for an entirely different set of crimes, he was found guilty of fraud by a jury of everyday Americans, and separately found liable for committing sexual abuse. And consider what he intends to do if we give him power again. Consider his explicit intent to set free violent extremists who assaulted those law enforcement officers at the Capitol. His explicit intent to jail journalists, political opponents, and anyone he sees as the enemy. His explicit intent to deploy our active duty military against our own citizens. Consider the power he will have, especially after the United States Supreme Court just ruled that he would be immune from criminal prosecution. Just imagine Donald Trump with no guardrails. And how he would use the immense powers of the presidency of the United States, not to improve your life, not to strengthen our national security, but to serve the only client he has ever had, himself. And we know what a second Trump term would look like. It's all laid out in Project 2025, written by his closest advisors, and its sum total is to pull our country back to the past. But America, we are not going back. We are not going back. We are not going back. We are not going back to when Donald Trump tried to cut Social Security and Medicare. We are not going back to when he tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, when insurance companies could deny people with pre-existing conditions. We are not going to let him eliminate the Department of Education that funds our public schools. We are not going to let him end programs like Head Start that provide preschool and childcare for our children. America, we are not going back. And we are charting a new way forward. Forward to a future with a strong and growing middle class, because we know a strong middle class has always been critical to America's success. And building that middle class will be a defining goal of my presidency.
waayahay guud ahaan waliba intaan ka afmeerana barnaamijkii umuura caalamka ee Warteelka Arlaadi min fayla